Long ago, in a quiet village called Onuva, there lived a man named Okeke and his beautiful wife Stella. They were the kind of couple everyone admired, always walking hand in hand to the market, sharing roasted corn under the moonlight, and laughing as if their hearts were one. But sometimes, love hides behind pride like the sun behind clouds. One Monday morning, the cock had barely crowed when Stella spread butter on Okeke's bread. She hummed softly as she walked, her head tied in a neat scarf. But when Okeke looked at the bread, his face twisted in anger. "What kind of mess is this, Stella?" he snapped. "Can't you even spread butter properly?" The word struck like a whip. The smile on Stella's face faded. She said nothing and left the table. Okeke felt a sting in his heart, but pride whispered, "Let her be. She should learn to do things right." That day, they both left for work without saying a word. No goodbye, no smile, only silence. When night came, the same silence filled their home. They ate separately, slept apart, and the once warm house became as cold as the Harmattan wind. Days passed. Tuesday, Wednesday, then Thursday, with no peace between them. Stella would sometimes smile at him softly, as if saying, "Let's forget it." But Okeke's pride stood tall like a stubborn mountain. If this fight will end, he told himself, she must apologize first. That night, Stella sang their favorite song in the bathroom, a song they used to sing together after supper. Okeke listened, pretending not to care. He wanted to join her voice, but his pride locked his lips. When she came out, he pretended to be asleep. She sighed softly, blew out the candle, and lay beside him. At 3 a.m., Stella touched his arm gently. "Okeke," she whispered, her voice weak. He brushed his hand away, thinking she wanted to make peace. He didn't know that was the last time her hand would touch him alive. The first rays of dawn crept into the room. Okeke turned in his sleep, stretched and blinked at the light brushing his face. He glanced at Stella. She was laying still, her hair resting softly on the pillow. "She's still angry," he muttered under his breath. "Let her sleep." He got up, dressed quickly, and prepared breakfast. He didn't even bother to wake her. Pride again whispered, if she wants peace, let her be the one to speak first. Okeke looked at the bread on the table, the same kind of bread they had fought about days ago. His throat tightened with guilt for a moment, but he brushed it aside. He ate silently, grabbed his bag, and left the house without saying goodbye. The sun was bright, the village buzzing, but something inside him felt oddly heavy. As he walked through the market square, people greeted him, but his replies were short. He felt unsettled, as though something unseen followed him. That evening, when Okeke returned home, the compound was unusually quiet. No smoke from the kitchen, no sound of Stella's soft humming. "Stella!" he called out, forcing a smile. "I'm home." Silence. He frowned. The door was open. The table, exactly as he'd left it that morning. His half-eaten bread still lay on the plate on the table. "Stella!" he called again, louder this time. His footsteps echoed as he hurried into the bedroom. There she was, lying in the same position, wrapped in a wrapper. At first, he thought she was sleeping, but something felt wrong. Too still, too cold. "Stella," he said softly, sitting beside her. He touched her hand, ice cold. "Stella," he shouted, shaking her shoulders. "Wake up! Enough of this nonsense." Her head fell limply to the side. Okeke's breath caught. His knee weakened. He pressed his ear against her chest. No heartbeat. Her lips were pale. Her chest didn't move. A scream tore from his throat. Jesus! No! Stella! Don't do this to me! He held her close, crying, shaking her as if he could wake her by force. But the silence in the room was heavier than his wails. Stella was gone, and pride had stolen the love of his life. Okeke's cry pierced the compound like a wounded animal's howl. Neighbors came running. Women gasped. Men whispered. Children peeked from behind doorposts, too scared to come closer. What happened, Okeke? One of the elders asked, bending near Stella's still body. I don't know, he stammered. She was fine when I left this morning. She was sleeping. I didn't know. I didn't know she was... His voice broke and he fell to his knees. The elder placed a hand on his shoulder. Take heart, my son. It is the will of the gods. But Okeke shook his head violently. No, this is not the gods. It's me. It's my fault. He wept until his voice cracked. Until the night became heavy with sorrow. They carried Stella's body away, wrapped in a white cloth, while Okeke sat on the cold floor, staring blankly at the wall. Every corner of the house reminded him of her. Her laughter, her songs, her gentle ends. At dawn, his mother arrived. When she saw him sitting motionless beside Stella's empty mat, she broke down in tears. My son, she whispered, how could this happen? She was still young. Okeke's face was pale. She tried to wake me. He said softly, at midnight, she touched me. I pushed her hand away. I thought she wanted to talk about our fight, but she was dying and I didn't know. The old woman's heart broke. She knelt beside him, sobbing. She had that smile, Okeke. You knew it. You should have checked on her. His tears fell freely now. I let my pride speak louder than my love. I killed my wife with silence. That day, the village women prepared a burial. The drummers beat slowly, and the priest murmured old prayers. As the sun sank behind the hills, Okeke watched them lower the body of the woman he loved into the earth. His hands trembled as he threw a handful of sand onto a coffin. Forgive me, Stella, he whispered. Please forgive me. But the only answer was the wind, soft, cold, and distant. That night, he could not sleep. The bed was empty. The air felt heavy. Every sound, every silence reminded him of her last touch, the one he had pushed away. The days that followed felt like years to Okeke. His house, once filled with laughter and the smell of Stella's cooking, now felt like a grave. The chair she used to sit on remained untouched. A wrapper still hung behind the door. Every morning, he woke up hoping it had all been a nightmare. But her absence screamed louder than his thoughts. Villagers came often to console him, but their words sounded far away. Some said, time will heal you, Okeke. Others said, the gods give and take. But Okeke knew better. It wasn't the gods who took Stella. It was his pride. One evening, as the moon shone over the quiet village, Okeke sat outside, staring into the dark sky. The wind blew gently through the trees, whispering softly. Then faintly, he heard it. Her voice. Okeke. He froze. His heart pounded. Stella, he whispered, trembling. Is that you? The wind carried her voice again, gentle and sorrowful. You let silence steal our love. Okeke fell to his knees. Forgive me, Stella. I was a fool. I didn't know you needed me that night. I thought we had tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. The wind seemed to answer. He buried his hands in his face, crying uncontrollably. If I could turn back time, I would eat that ugly bread 100 times and kiss you after. I would sing with you, laugh with you. I would never let pride stand between us. The wind grew still. The next morning, Okeke went to Stella's grave, carrying a small loaf of bread, just like the one from that Monday morning. He knelt beside the mound and placed it there gently. "This is for you, my love," he said softly. "I will never again let pride speak louder than my heart." As he turned to leave, a soft breeze brushed his cheek, warm, tender, like Stella's hand. He froze. He knew that Stella had hurt him, but forgiveness, he also knew, would never erase the emptiness she left behind. From that day, Okeke became a quiet man. When others quarreled, he was the first to say, "Swallow your pride before it swallows your peace." Because he had learned too late that sometimes the cost of pride is a heartbeat that never returns. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. But for Okeke, time moved like a wounded snail. He stopped going to the market. He rarely spoke. Some days, the villagers saw him sitting by the riverbank talking to himself. Others said he spoke to Stella's spirit. "Poor man," they whispered, "love broke him." But Okeke didn't care. To him, Stella wasn't gone. She was just beyond the veil, close enough to feel but too far to touch. Every evening, he lit a small lantern beside her grave and sat there until dawn, speaking softly into the darkness. "Do you remember, Stella?" he would say, "how you used to laugh at my dancing, or how you would hide my shoes so that I wouldn't leave for work too early?" The night breeze would rustle the leaves and he would smile faintly. "I know you are here," he would whisper. "I can feel you." One night, a young boy named Chijioke followed him secretly to the graveyard. He watched from behind a tree as Okeke knelt by the mound, tears glistening in the lantern light. "Pride," Okeke said aloud, "is a thief dressed like a friend. He steals love, peace and laughter before you even notice." He shook his head slowly. "If I had spoken just one word that morning, if I had turned and said, 'I love you, Stella,' instead of keeping quiet, Stella would still be alive." The boy ran home and told his mother what he had seen and heard. The next morning, the whole village was talking about it. Soon, people began visiting Okeke not out of pity, but to learn. Couples who fought came to hear his story. He would tell them calmly, "Never sleep in anger. What's unsaid can turn into tears that never end." Some cried, some hugged each other right there, and Okeke would smile faintly, seeing in them what he had lost. But every night, he still returned to Stella's grave. He would talk, sing softly, and sometimes fall asleep there. He had become the man who spoke to silence, and the silence spoke back in whispers of forgiveness and sorrow. In Onuva village, no one mocked him. They all knew his story carried a lesson sharper than any knife, that pride doesn't just break hearts, it buries them. Years passed in Onuva village, and the story of Okeke and Stella became more than a memory. It became a warning. Parents told it to their children. Wives whispered it to stubborn husbands. Husbands repeated it to angry wives. Everyone remembered the tale of how pride had stolen love in one silent night. Okeke grew older. His hair turned grey, his hands shaky. Yet every morning, he still baked a small loaf of bread and placed it on Stella's grave. It was his way of saying, "I remember." Children often followed him there. Curious, they would watch as he laid the bread carefully and bowed his head in prayer. "Papa Okeke," they would ask, "why do you always bring bread to the dead?" He would smile weakly and answer, "Because once I chose pride over peace, and it cost me everything I loved. This bread reminds me that no mistake is too small to destroy what truly matters." The children would nod, though they didn't fully understand. But as they grew, they never forgot his words. One Harmattan morning, Okeke didn't come to the graveyard. The villagers waited. He still didn't appear. When they went to his house, they found him seated on his chair, eyes closed, a faint smile on his face. The bread he had baked still warm beside him. He had gone quietly, like a candle fading after lighting many hearts. The villagers buried him beside Stella, just as he once wished. That evening, as the wind swept through the trees, some swore they heard two voices singing softly, the same song Stella used to sing in the shower. From that day, the people of Onova made a tradition. Whenever a couple quarreled, an elder would bring them a loaf of bread and say, "Before you speak harshly, remember Okeke and Stella. Before you let pride slip between you, remember the bread that started a storm." And so, the story lived on, not in sorrow, but in wisdom. The old men would end it with these words: "Pride feeds no heart, it only leaves the table empty." And the children, wide-eyed, would promise quietly, never go to bed angry, never push away a loving hand. Because in Onova, the wind still whispered, love dies only when silence wins. From this story, we learned that a harsh word can wound deeper than a spear. Silence, when filled with pride, can kill faster than a poison. And no matter how right you think you are, love is worth more than winning an argument. What other insights did you gain from this story? Do well to share them in the comment section. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to be updated on new stories. Bye for now.